you're going to be learning how to use gradients in Illustrator, and then we can do a little bit of like flare to the background as well, just so it's not just a gradient or a solid color. Gradient tool is a little weird and tricky to use in Illustrator. When you get to it in Photoshop, I feel like you're going to find that it's much more user-friendly than it is, in my opinion, in Illustrator. Especially Sketchbook is much more simple anyway, with like a click and drag, and that Photoshop mimics that. This is a little different, so get ready to buckle up on this one. All right, layers. Once again, that double Velveeta cheese slice right there. Boom. Open that up. Color, fix, if you have any fixes, outline, and stock photo. I want you to go ahead and make a new layer. We're going to put this on the top for now, but when we're done, we're going to move it below pretty much everything. So go ahead down here where I am to the plus sign that says Create New Layer. Click on that. Probably will be called Layer 4 or 5, depending on if you have a fixed layer. Double click on where it says Layer 5, like the text itself, and then type in gradient or background. We'll go background. Sorry. And that way, if you're not using a literal gradient, you're fine. All right, the gradient tool is right here, but it won't actually work yet. We first have to designate a shape to gradient. So I recommend this guy up here, the rectangle tool, or you could hit M on your keyboard. Before you go ahead and click and drag, what I want you to do is check out this info right here where my mouse is circling around. I have a fill of white and no stroke. Click on the stroke real quick to bring that to the front, just one click anyway, and go ahead and hit none on that. We don't want a stroke for this. Then go back and click on your fill to activate that. You'll see that square pops up. Whatever color you have right now, let's all just do this together just to give it a start. Let's go red. We'll easily see it, and then hit OK. So, with the rectangle tool, with red selected, we're going to start at the very, very top left. Even what I would recommend is you go a little outside your canvas. That way you guarantee that everything gets into the canvas itself. Click, hold, and drag. I want you to cover all of the canvas so that you can see that thin black line. Everything inside there prints, everything outside does not. Let go, and there you have it. Now this is just a solid color. We're going to gradient this now, okay? So while we have this still selected as is, I want you to look where I'm circling around right now. This is probably going to be a different color for you. I bet you it's black to white, like a grayscale kind of thing. But there is a solid color, a gradient, and then none. If I click none, there's no fill. The object is still there. As you can see, that purple selection is still there. If I hit gradient, you're going to get a gradient. Like I said, I think by default, it's probably black and white that you're looking at right now. In fact, I'll go ahead and change it. I hope that this mimics yours more closely. Let me click off of that. So you're probably looking at something like this right now. That's perfect. Now we have an actual gradient in there. We want to make some changes, obviously, to both the color and then also probably to the direction of the gradient itself. So first, though, let's go ahead and talk about different options within the gradient itself, and then we'll go on to color and rotation. So linear gradient, that's what we have right now. That's where it just goes left to right. You can see the type of gradient up here. This window should have automatically popped up for you. If it didn't, go to Window and then Gradient. If not, you can find it right here, and I'll show you all the info. Anyway, linear gradient. Left to right, up and down, diagonal, just point A to point B. Radial gradient. That is where it kind of comes out from the center, circle-wise in a way, like that. And then this last one, the freeform gradient, I don't even recommend clicking on it. I just did, and it always really lags my computer. I'm pretty sure this is like low-key randomized between colors and everything. I'm just not going to mess around with the freeform gradient. But feel free if you want to. Do at your own peril. Save your file before you do hand. It seems to crash mine a lot. So anyway, there's that. In fact, before we go on to color, I'm going to click off of this gradient window. I'm even going to take my selection tool and click outside the box just to get everything deselected real quick. I'm going to open up my layer window, and I'm going to take this background layer, and I'm going to click and drag it behind everything. And that way I can see what it looks like on my character to decide, do I want a linear gradient, and if so, what direction, right? I'm going to go ahead and click on this again. I think no, we don't want to double click. That just brings up the isolation mask. Oh no, it went above. I'm going to drag that below again. I'm going to click on my gradient, and I'm going to open the gradient window. Right now, we have black and white. Let's change those colors. I'm sure you probably don't want a grayscale gradient. I'm going to double click on the white to start, and then you'll see a bunch of different things pop up here. Color, swatches, and color picker. Color picker could be handy if you want to take a color direct from here to maybe edit a little bit and then go back in, and then you could, make some changes. The color swatches right here will give you standard issue colors, which is actually what I recommend, to be honest, for everybody, pretty much no matter what. You want, maybe you want something to pop out, maybe you don't. This is a good match. Find what works for you. I'm actually thinking I still like the duller one because I like these muted colors anyway. So I want that, and then maybe I'll double click on the black. I'll go to my color swatches, and I'll find something else. I was thinking of a green, but that's like way too intense. If you have something kind of in the right direction, but not just there, you can go back up to color, and you'll notice that this whole thing has dramatically changed. So then you can kind of move this around to what suits your fancy. I'm trying to go for more like Zelda-esque colors. There we go. I like that. Muted greens. So again, swatches and the color picker itself. When it's in black and white, though, originally, then it's just grayscale there. So be careful of that. Click back up here in your gradient window once you have the two colors that you want. Let's talk about rotation, and let's talk about, really, I think that's it, actually. So, because we already talked about linear and whatnot. All right, so rotation. Right now, you can see this bar going across here. Oh, that's the other thing, is like the scale with this. Like, I can move this over if I don't want as much green, like if I only want a hint of it, or vice versa. Normally, it being in the center is kind of nice because it gives you the most equal fade from one color to the other. You could manually do the rotation by clicking on this thing that I just did right here, and you could literally just go into any one of these and it will angle it for you, but I much prefer customizing my own, and the way to do that is hover right where I am right now. Look at my cursor right here that's bobbing around. You go right next to it like that, you'll see that the icon changes. Then if you click and drag, you can rotate your gradient in a way that you want it to. If you want to swap the two colors, you could then, I could move the green here and the beige to the top, something like that. Maybe I will go with something like that, actually. And then you can individually drag them, like moving the gradient itself around the canvas as well. So let's see what we do. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we will go for something like this. Okay. Cool. I'm happy. So there we go. Bring this down a little bit. Figure out a rotation that works for you. If you're ever like, oh my god, I messed it up, you can just go right back to 0, and then you're good to go. Good to go. I'm gonna undo that, or just Command Z your way through it and undo it yourself manually.